The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is in my opinion one of the most underrated Elder Scrolls games. I first purchased this game back in 2010 after reading about it in a gaming magazine I found in a laundromat. Up until then, gaming for myself had been limited to using an iPod Touch and playing Pokemon on my DS, so as you can imagine my 13-year-old peasant mind had no idea how to handle all the depth and immersion waiting for me in Oblivion. Even looking back over the footage of this game has filled me with so many memories from my first playthrough, like being terrified whenever the combat theme would play because I couldn't find the enemy, being scared because I couldn't kill a ghost because I didn't know what weapon I needed to use to kill it, or even entering my first Oblivion gate. 8 years on and this game still holds a special place in my heart, easily within my top 5 favourite games of all time, and while it hasn't aged well in most places, especially animation and voice acting, I'll still make sure to do a complete playthrough of the game every once a year or so. And just for the record, we're looking at the base game here and none of the DLC, as I don't have them installed at the moment unfortunately. So here we go, let's jump in. Okay, this game looks dated in most areas with bad draw distance, significant pop-in. However, I cannot deny there's something so charming about the art style they've used in design in this game, which no other game has managed to replicate for me. The vibrant trees and rolling hills all install this feeling of wonder and awe at your environment, making you truly believe you're adventuring through a fantasy land. The dungeons do all look the same after you've been through them, but they successfully make you feel so cautious about what could be lurking around the corner. This is mainly due to Oblivion's terrible scaling the system, which could place elder vampires in intermediary dungeons, but hey, you win some, you lose some. The animations all look ganky and awkward even for 2006 standards. The facial animations for seeing people speaking always bugged me as they look way too over the top, like they're exaggerating their reactions, but there's a little bit of charm to how terrible they are. And ultimately the cities all somehow feel unique, whether it be dark elven influences on the architecture in Shadenor or the swampy slums of Leyawiin. No two cities feel the same, and there is the crown jewel, the Imperial City, a city so dense that still to this day I don't think I've seen its every nook and cranny. Without a doubt, my favourite part of this game is its soundtrack, how it manages to complement the game's art style while both fulfilling me with a feeling of inspiration and dread. It holds up and supports so many elements of the gameplay and exploration as well. It's common for myself to just stop paying attention to my surroundings and to instead just find myself wandering around the map, finding new locations. It all ties back into that amazing exploration that this game encourages. Done, just enhanced by this awesome soundtrack. Jeremy Soule outdid himself here. Like, just listen to the soundtrack and tell me you aren't relaxed or inspired or feel like you're in a fantasy world. Combat is Oblivion's weakest component, as Skyrim has completely managed to evolve the use of weapons and magic. You'll often feel like you're hitting enemies with a blunt butter knife in combat, and as there's limited reactions from enemies being hit, minus the odd stagger animation here and there. Still though, it does feel satisfying when you reach level 30 and dropping Daedra in 2 to 3 hits. Archery fares a bit better than melee weapon combat, but still feels like you're not hurting the enemy by shooting them, plus the bullet velocity of the arrows is really bad, and as always, being a stealth archer is really overpowered, so God bless you, Bethesda. Magic probably fares the best, mainly because of the graphical effects of fire and lightning spells. It's just so satisfying to see the visual spectacle of launching a firing ball at a charging enemy. And hands down, one of the funnest mechanics in this game was the spell crafting system. The main story plods along at a good pace, with enough interesting things happening to keep you engaged. Battle for Gavach is definitely a highlight of the whole experience overall, and really managed to instill a sense of urgency to the impending doom from the Oblivion crisis. Having Oblivion gates open up all over the rest of the world, however, becomes annoying, as they lose their charm rather quickly, unfortunately. Likewise, most of the main story quests turn into uneventful dungeon crawls with a few gimmicks here and there, or just simple fetch quests. But the most notorious quest of the main story is without a doubt Aid for Bruma, in which you have to close an Oblivion gate outside of every city, in return for 1 or 2 town guards to help you in an upcoming battle, which is useless as these guards die in a few hits for most Daedra anyway. So yeah, never complete Aid for Bruma. But the ending of the main story is satisfying and does provide some visual spectacle seeing a Daedric prince in their true form, and Martin's sacrifice feels poetic in a way, so overall the main story is passable, has enough twists and turns to keep you invested for the ride. Alright, first off here I need to say the Dark Brotherhood storyline is possibly the best questline in the whole story, maybe even the best questline in the whole series. It is impeccably written, its execution is spot on, and is still one of my favourite parts of Oblivion to this day. The other factions, they're alright. The Fighters Guild follows mainly fetch quests and then notorious Azani Blackheart quests in which you walk around County Leowyn following your guild member at his slow pace. Yeah, not a good time. But towards the end it picks up with a story involving the mysterious Blackwood Company and the histories. The Mages Guild is alright overall but lacks twists and revelations about the story. Manamako is a good villain, but he's appeared as a villain in at least 2 other Elder Scrolls games now, and his inclusion in Oblivion is undoubtedly his weakest appearance. The Thieves Guild also shines as well by actually forcing you into role-playing as a thief in order to progress through the story. Not to mention it has great heist quests towards the end, and the character of the Grey Fox is an intriguing mystery. Now this part has obviously got the most fond memories for me. I just find the game shines so much more through side quests, and I still remember so much of them to this day. Quests such as hunting the painted trolls, or the haunted house you buy an anvil and you have to perform an exorcism on to get rid of the lich in it. These are all quests that have stuck with me purely just from the game's charm, and while like the voice acting's not the best, the animation's pretty terrible and all that hasn't aged well, but for some reason the quests still hold up for me. Like I just find myself going to do certain side quests at the start of every new playthrough. So yeah, the side quests have some very sweet memories in there for me. Okay, this is easily my most disliked feature in the game. How Bethesda managed to bury so many essential game mechanics and systems behind this god-fucking awful slider menu is truly a testament to the developers. Not to mention it was common for the menu to freeze back in 2010 when I was playing it first on my old Xbox. I still, to this day, have trouble navigating this menu and often get distracted by looking at irrelevant things on here before I remember what I was after. Want to change your weapon but left the menu on the map? While enjoying spending the next 15 seconds scrolling through sliders until you find what you're after. Okay, there is something good about the menu at least. I like how the stats are laid out and the aesthetics of the menu itself does suit the game's thematic purposes, but oh god am I happy they corrected this with the user interface in Skyrim. Obviously, the biggest factor holding back dungeoning in Oblivion is the sheer lack of diversity within the dungeons themselves. Fairly certain they're all made by one person at Bethesda, and sure, some quests take you to unique dungeons with special assets, but these are too far and few between. This results in dungeoning being undertaken more to gather loot and experience, and out of a lesser desire to explore and find something interesting. Some dungeons do have cool gimmicks, admittedly, but after doing a few fetch quests, you really just get over it very quickly. And the loot you find in the dungeons themselves is incredibly inconsistent at best. You can clear out an entire 3-story dungeon and walk out with a few potions of warmth and 50 gold. Or you can clear out a 1-layer fort and waltz out in a new set of fresh enchanted armor. In a way though, this diversity of loot actually helps encourage different playthroughs for the character. Want to rock 6+ hand-to-hand a blacksmith's apron? Fuck yeah, go for it. This game indirectly wants you to experiment because of how awful its loot is. And I know the luck stat plays a role in determining loot, but honestly, you'll get pretty tired of dungeoning very quickly. Now, Bethesda's RPGs reward you experience by the mechanic of the more you do this one thing, the better you'll become at it, which works for the most part. Your skills increase incrementally, which also allows you to raise your attributes when you fully level up. This in turn makes it more difficult to re-roll your character as you become more invested in one style of gameplay. Having to sleep to level up was a feature I didn't mind. It felt nice to take a break from everything and take in all the work you've done towards your character. However, much like the game's UI, though, the leveling system is poorly explained and executed, and you'll soon find yourself not caring about leveling up your minor skills as they do not directly reward experience to your character leveling up overall. The slight perk system you gain upon reaching a certain level in skills is nice, but none of them are particularly great, and most of them you'll forget about having access to. Overall, the leveling system isn't the best or most rewarding, but you can't deny you do feel your character is slowly growing more powerful over time, so it does its purpose. Overall, despite the glaring problems I pointed out here, this game somehow manages to still be one of my favourites of all time. Just the sheer amount of memories and joy I have from questing and exploring this game, uncovering all of its mystery and wonder, truly make it one of the best experiences I've had in gaming ever. I feel like its charm and awkwardness we'll never see in another Elder Scrolls again, which is both good and bad. The amount of glorious memes which have indirectly spawned from this game, just to how terribly it's aged, is another great gift from Oblivion, and if they ever give this game a full remaster, you can expect I'll throw down some serious cash for Oblivion Collector's Edition. Anyway, this about sums it up really. Feel free to give me any feedback because I'm still new to all this, and like and share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.